Here is the uncomfortable truth about almost every app you will ever build. The most common way an attacker gets in is not some brilliant zero-day exploit. It is something far more boring: a stolen password. Verizon tracks this every single year, and the pattern never changes. Stolen credentials turn up in the overwhelming majority of web application breaches. Authentication is the front door of your app, and it is the one door most of us get wrong. And yet most developers treat Auth as a black box. Copy a library, paste in some config, wire up a login button, and just hope it holds. So today we are opening that box all the way up. 7 authentication concepts every developer should know. Learn these 7 ideas, and the whole confusing world of logins, tokens, and providers finally clicks into one clear picture. Concept 1. Authentication versus authorization. Who you are versus what you are allowed to do. 2 completely different questions, and mixing them up is exactly where the security bugs live. 2. Hashing. A real system never stores your actual password anywhere. It stores a scrambled one-way fingerprint that can be checked against, but never turned back into the original. 3. Sessions versus tokens. The web forgets you the instant a request ends, so something has to quietly prove on every single click that you are still the same person who logged in. 4. The JSON Web Token, the JWT. 3 little segments, signed and separated by dots, that a huge slice of the internet now uses to carry your identity between servers. 5 and 6. OAuth and OpenID Connect. Together, these are the reason you can click sign in with Google without ever handing that random third-party app your actual Google password. And 7. Multi-factor and passkeys. There are already more than 5 billion passkeys in active use around the world, and they are quietly, steadily killing the password for good. We will build these 7 up in 3 chapters. First, the fundamentals underneath everything, then how you actually stay logged in, and finally how the whole modern internet learned to delegate trust. Concept 1. It sounds like a single idea, but it is really 2, and they always happen in a strict order. The word people reach for is auth, but auth is 2 separate steps wearing one name. First, authentication. It answers a single question: who are you? You hand over a credential, a password, a one-time code, a fingerprint, and the system verifies it. That is the entire job, just proving you are who you claim to be. Then, and only then, comes authorization. And this answers a completely different question. Now that we know who you are, what exactly are you allowed to do here? Same person, different powers. A logged-in reader can view the document, an editor can change it, an admin can delete the entire workspace. Authentication is identical for all 3. Authorization is the part that pulls them apart. Even the HTTP status codes keep the 2 ideas separate. A 401 means we do not know who you are yet. Go and log in. A 403 means we know exactly who you are, and the answer is still no. So here's the rule to burn into memory. Authenticate first, authorize second, and never trust a user ID the browser handed you. Prove identity, then check permission on every request for every action. Concept 2. Hashing. And it begins with the one rule in this entire video you can never break. You do not store passwords. Not ever. Not encrypted, not obscured, never in any form you could read back. Because breaches happen to everyone eventually. And the day your database leaks, if that password column holds the real thing, every one of your users is instantly compromised, on your site and every other site where they reuse that password. So instead of the password, you store a hash of it. A hash is a one-way function. The same input always produces the same output, but there is no rewind button. You simply cannot turn the fingerprint back into the finger. This is exactly why hashing is not encryption, and people confuse them constantly. Encryption is a two-way door. Anything you lock with a key, you can unlock again. A password should never be unlockable, so hashing, the one-way door, is precisely the right tool. On login, the flow is beautifully simple. You hash whatever the user just typed and compare it to the stored hash. If they match, you are in. If they do not, you are out. The real secret is never kept on the server at all. But here is the trap that catches so many people. Fast hashes like MD5 or SEA256 are the wrong tool for this. They were designed to be fast, and a single modern GPU can try billions of password guesses a second against a leaked hash. So we deliberately use slow hashes, purpose-built for this job. OWASP's current guidance is Argon2id, memory hard, tuned to around 19 megabytes of memory with 2 iterations, or, for legacy systems, Bcrypt with a work factor of at least 10. Then one more crucial piece, the salt. A salt is a unique random value mixed into every password before it is hashed. Two users with the identical password now get completely different hashes, and an attacker's pre-computed rainbow tables become worthless. Put it all together, and even a full database leak buys the attacker almost nothing. A slow hash, a unique salt per user, and now every single fingerprint has to be cracked on its own, one at a time, which, done right, takes effectively forever. And if you want one more layer of defense, there is the pepper, a single secret value kept completely out of the database, mixed in before hashing. If the database leaks but the pepper does not, the stolen hashes are still useless on their own. Concept 3. You have proven who you are, but now the web works against you, because it has no memory. HTTP is stateless. Each request arrives completely cold, with no idea who sent it. So how do you actually stay logged in? There are two classic answers, and the choice between them quietly shapes your entire architecture. The first, and the older one, is sessions. With a session, the server does the remembering. When you log in, it creates a session record in its own memory or database, and hands your browser a small opaque ID inside a cookie. From then on, that cookie rides along on every request you make. The server looks that ID up, finds your session, and instantly knows it is you. The important part, the state lives on the server, which means logging you out is trivial. Delete the record, and your session is dead the very next request. The second answer flips that completely. Tokens. Here, the server deliberately remembers nothing. Instead, it hands you a signed token that already contains who you are, and you attach it to every request you make. The server just checks the signature. If it is valid, the request is trusted, with no lookup and no database hit at all. That is why tokens scale so beautifully across dozens of servers. None of them has to share a common session store. But that exact strength is also the catch. If the server stores nothing, it cannot easily take a token back once issued. A stolen token stays valid right up until it expires, which is precisely why good token lifetimes are kept short. So which should you actually reach for? If you own the whole stack and want instant, reliable logout, sessions are simple and rock solid. If you are stitching together many services or a mobile app, tokens win. And honestly, most real systems end up using a bit of both, which brings us straight to concept 4, the token everyone is actually talking about when they say token, the JSON Web Token or JWT. If you have ever seen a long gibberish string with 2 dots buried in it, you have already met one. It is 3 parts, separated by those 2 dots, a header, a payload, and a signature. Each part is just JSON that has been base 64 encoded, and notice the word encoded, not encrypted. That single distinction is about to matter enormously. The header describes how the token is signed, the algorithm, something like HS256 or RS256. The payload holds the claims, who you are, maybe what you are allowed to do, and critically, when this token expires. Now the warning that trips up team after team. The payload is not secret. Anyone can paste a JWT into a free online viewer and read every claim in plain text. So never ever put a password, an API key, or any secret inside it. So then what stops an attacker from just editing the payload to say they are an admin? The signature. The server signs the header and payload together with a key only it knows. Change a single character, and the signature no longer matches, so the token is thrown out. And that is the whole quiet genius of it. A JWT is readable by anyone, yet forgeable by no one. It is tamper-proof, not private. It lets the server trust the claims are genuine without having to remember a single thing about you. In real systems, you almost always pair 2 tokens. A short-lived access token that you send on every request, and a longer-lived refresh token that quietly mints fresh access tokens in the background, so if one leaks, its shelf life is tiny. And please, actually verify the signature. The single most famous JW2 disaster is trusting a token's own header when it claims the algorithm is none. Skip verification, and anyone on Earth can hand you a token that simply says they are the admin. Concept 5 is where authentication gets social. OAuth. Picture a little photo printing app that wants access to the pictures sitting in your Google account. How do you let it in safely? The genuinely terrible old way was to just type your Google password straight into that app. And now it has your real password, full, permanent access to absolutely everything you own. That is the exact problem OAuth was invented to kill. OAuth is delegated authorization. Instead of ever sharing your password, you let Google hand the app a limited revocable key on your behalf. The app gets to do one specific thing, and it never ever sees your password. There are 4 players in this dance. You, the resource owner, the app doing the asking, the client, Google's authorization server, which issues the keys, and the resource server, which is actually holding your photos. And the dance goes like this. The app redirects you over to Google. Google authenticates you directly on its own page, then shows you a consent screen. This app wants to view your photos. You read it and you approve. Google hands back a short one-time authorization code. The app quietly swaps that code for an access token behind the scenes, and only then can it read your photos, exactly what you approved, and absolutely nothing more. That nothing more is the entire point, and it has a name: scopes. View the photos, but not delete them. Read your email, but never send as you. And because it is only a token, you can revoke that access anytime without ever touching your password. The current best practice is OAuth 2.1, which quietly folds in a decade of hard lessons. PKCE is now required for every client. The old insecure implicit flow is gone entirely, and redirect URLs must match exactly, closing the gaps attackers use to hijack that code. Concept 6 fixes a subtle but enormous mistake almost everyone made with OAuth. Here it is, plainly. OAuth was designed for authorization, for access. It was never actually designed to log you in. An access token tells an app what it is permitted to do with your account. It does not reliably tell the app who you actually are. People bolted a login flow onto OAuth anyway, in a dozen slightly incompatible ways, and the result was a genuine mess. So the industry finally standardized it: OpenID Connect, usually just called OIDC. It is a thin identity layer that sits right on top of OAuth 2.0. It is the exact same flow you just watched, with one clean addition. That addition is the ID token, and it is a JWT whose entire job is to answer one question: who are you? A stable user ID, your name, your email, the moment you logged in, all of it signed by the identity provider itself. Say the difference in one line and never forget it. OAuth gives an app permission to act on your behalf. OpenID Connect tells the app who it is acting for. Access versus identity. Two tokens, two entirely different jobs. And this is the exact machinery behind single sign-on. Log in once with your identity provider, and every connected app trusts that same signed identity. No new password, no separate account, just one login that unlocks all of them. And you have almost certainly leaned on all of this already. Every time you signed in with Google, Apple, Microsoft, or GitHub, or your company quietly logged you into a dozen tools at once through something like Okta or Auth0. That was OAuth and OpenID Connect, working exactly as designed. Concept 7, and it is where everything we have covered is quietly heading, because even a perfect, beautifully hashed password has one fatal flaw. It is a shared secret, and a shared secret can always be phished, guessed, or leaked, so we stop relying on just one thing. Multi-factor authentication asks you for 2 of 3 fundamentally different kinds of proof: something you know, something you have, and something you are. A password is something you know. A code on your phone or a hardware key in your pocket is something you have. Your fingerprint or your face is something you are. Steal any one of those factors, and an attacker still cannot get in. The version you know best is the 6-digit code that refreshes every 30 seconds. That is TOTP, and it is genuinely good protection. But codes sent to you over plain text are weaker. They can be phished or stolen outright with a SIM swap, which is exactly why the endgame is Passkeys, built on the Open Web Authn and FIDO2 standards. And a passkey is not a secret you type at all. It is a private cryptographic key that never ever leaves your device. When you sign in, the site sends a random challenge, your device signs it with that private key, and the server verifies it against the public key it stored at signup. There is no shared secret to steal, and because it is bound to the real site, phishing simply fails. And this is not some distant future, it is already here. The FIDO Alliance now counts more than 5 billion passkeys in active use, with sign-in success rates far higher than passwords ever managed. The password's long, slow goodbye has clearly begun, so let all 7 land together. The fundamentals: authentication proves who you are, authorization decides what you may do, and passwords are never stored, only slowly hashed and salted, so a leak is worthless. Staying logged in. Sessions do the remembering on the server, tokens carry the proof along with them, and a JWT is a signed, readable, tamper-proof token, which you should always verify before you trust it. And delegating trust. OAuth grants scoped access without ever revealing your password. OpenID Connect adds a signed answer to who you are, and Passkeys finally retire the shared secret altogether. None of this is magic, and none of it is a black box. It is 7 honest ideas, each one solving a single real problem. Understand them, and you are not just using authentication anymore. You genuinely understand the front door you are guarding. If this finally made authentication click for you, subscribe. This is the channel where the genuinely hard parts of building software start to make real sense. I will see you in the next one.